Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Now, look, where I left off, I was talking about David. He had finally relented and agreed to become a gangster disciple. He had given in to Benny and Tony's demands, right? But look, when he went back to his cell, he was thinking about it because he knew, he had been in the penitentiary for a little while, not as long as Benny and Tony had, but he knew that something wasn't right about the agreements that they made with him, right? They're telling him that they're going to make sure that when he gets beat in, that it's not going to hurt, it's not going to be as bad as a lot of people make it out to be, so on and so forth, because they were going to send people in the room that were going to make it look good. They really weren't going to put him through the ringer like anybody else that would be put down, right? So he knew in the back of his mind something's not right here. But you got to remember something. See, David doesn't know anybody. So it's really nobody that he can tell or say anything to about what he was about to go through. There's no way out. Now, he knew a couple of guys that were Crips and Vice Lords, and on the low, he went to them and he talked to them about what was going on, right? And he was willing to even pay them protection to make sure that he didn't have to go through with this. But they told him, look, hands off for us. You know what I'm saying? Once you've agreed to that, we can't get in there. Because if we get in there, then you'd have to become one of ours. So it was a lose-lose for David either way. He had waited too long to approach somebody to be, somebody that he could pay to protect him. He had already agreed to become a gangster disciple. But this dude wasn't cut like that. He didn't want to have anything to do with the gang. Like, he was a dope boy. He just wanted to make his money. But they wasn't going to allow that to happen. They were not going to let him do it the way he wanted to do it, because Benny and Tony, they were manipulators. They wanted to make sure that they were able to make sure that everybody under them could eat. That's what they wanted. They still had plugs on the town, but nothing compared to what David had. They can get an ounce in here or there, right? But when you in charge and you got 20, 30, 40, sometimes 80, I had 89 people under me at one time. When you got that many people up under you on one compound, that's a lot of mouths to feed. That's a lot of people with their hands out, asking for something, want some. Everybody coming by the cell, wanting a noodle, wanting this, wanting that. If I gave everybody that came to the cell a noodle, I'd never have any. But that's what Benny and Tony were facing, so they had to make sure they had a plug that could supply them with enough dope so they could make enough money to let everybody that was under them eat. And David was the golden goose, and the pack was the golden egg. And that's how it was going to play out. So it's the weekend. It's time for him to get put on. He had never been through anything like that. He had heard about it. So when they took him into the room, they had 6 brothers circled around him, right? These brothers were handpicked by Benny and Tony. Handpicked. They had already been told what to do, right? Let me tell you something about the org, right? A lot of times when the manipulation is going down, don't get it twisted. Other people might be in on it, right? Because they're going to benefit too. Because these brothers, even though Ben and Tony was the 9 and the 2, you know what I'm saying? Even though they were in charge, these other brothers knew that they're not supposed to go in there and be taking light on this dude. This dude ain't nobody right now. He's a peon. They're supposed to go in there and punish him if he wants to be one of them. That they had been told not to put hands on him the way that they would normally do. Why is that? They had been paid off too. So it left it up in the air because David had been thinking about this all night. Is this real? Or are they just trying to use me? So in his mind, he said, look, I got to go through with this. I'm going to go through with this. So now he's in the room. They surround him. 2 of the brothers approach him. They grab him, right? Because he's supposed to be able to fight back. But they grab him. And before you knew it, all of them were on top of him. Now, here's the thing about fighting when there's a lot of people involved in the fight. The closer that everybody gets to you, the harder it is to swing. They got all on top of him, right? But the ones that was all on top of him, they were covering him. And the ones that was on top of them, they were doing all the swinging. He wasn't really getting hit. Now you got brothers that's looking into the room, right? And it sounds good. The tennis shoes squeaking on the floor and all the noise and ooh and the on and oh man, no, hit them in the face. This. They saying all of these things. They make it sound good, but it really wasn't going down the way people thought. It was all about what it looked like. And that's what GD is about. It's all about what it looked like with these guys in particular. So after about 6 minutes, they come up out of there. Now everybody's sweating because even when you're faking, you're getting hot. Everybody's sweating and dripping. They come up out of the room. They put the G in his back. Say, welcome to the family, folks. Now he's one of them. He goes down the line. Everybody's putting the G in his back. And he gets to Benny and Tony. They put the G in his back and tell him, welcome to the family, folks. Then they sit down and everybody's talking. And they say, okay, who's going to train him? Who's going to teach him? Because somebody's got to take that responsibility on. Now, they didn't tell him that part. They didn't tell him that he had to be indoctrinated. They didn't tell him that he had to learn the mandatory 6. They didn't tell him all about the rules and the regulations that he had to follow. They told him they just wanted him to be a part of them so they would protect him and so they could all get money. But now this is a whole lifestyle change. Now he's got to learn the mandatory 6. He's got to learn the laws. He's got to learn the creed. He's got to learn all of these things that he's got to go by. And when he does that, he starts to understand what being a gangster is all about. 3 M's, y'all. Money, making, manipulation. That's what it was. The 3 L's, love, life, and loyalty, y'all. That's what it is. And he's learning all of these things as he's reading. Because when he reads these things, he's got to memorize them. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You didn't know that? When you first become the folks, you got to learn all of these things. If you don't learn these things, you don't get to come out the house. You're in the room. You can't come out until you can quote all of these things word for word to whoever your blesser is, whoever's in charge. I talk about that in my book, Rivals. Go check that out. Hit the link and get your copy. But here's the thing. Now, he's in the room and he's learning this stuff. And I'm going to tell you something. It's hard to learn something. It's hard to memorize something. And it don't stick. Because he knows that he has to be subordinate to the org. He has to be subordinate to the chairman and the executive staff. He knows he has to be subordinate to the chain of command. And if he's not subordinate to the chain, guess what? Consequences, repercussions. Hands on, pumpkin head. 6 minutes, no cover up. You know what I'm talking about? It gets real wicked when they get in that room when they talking about 6 minutes, no cover up, and then they got brothers in there 2 and 3 times the size you are, and they hitting hard. And they mad at you anyway because you got them coming in the room. They don't want to do that. They want to be somewhere off sitting, chilling, and smoking. Now you got them coming up in the room, have to put hands on you. What you think they going to do? They're going to punish him. Now he's thinking about, what have I gotten myself into? Ain't no way out. Ain't no way out. Even though they took it easy on him, bringing him in, you think they're going to let him go like that? Nah. He can't get out. Not that easy. For real, it's going to be blood out with him. They're not letting him walk away like that. So now he's stuck like Chuck. It's a tight fight with a short pipe. Ain't no win. What does he do? He does whatever they tell him to do. That's what he does. The next weekend comes up, right? After he's able to, it took a couple of weeks before he was able to memorize everything and get permission to be able to come out and roam around and do the things that he needed to do, right? But in the meantime, in between time, in the pod, they would let him come out and get on the phone and call his gal to set everything up. So he was still doing all that, but he couldn't come out. That's how they locked him in. It's just like an abuser lock his wife or his husband in and say, you can't go nowhere. You can't go nowhere. You locked in. Because they want you to do their bidding. And that's how it was for him. They wouldn't let him come out, get access to nobody else. But the whole compound had heard about what happened. Now they looking at him like, is he a real gangster or not? You feel me? They don't know the details. They don't know he didn't get real hands-on. But they looking at it like, wait a minute, 1 minute you're a dope boy, the next minute you're not. And then when he went and talked to that Crip and that Vice Lord and tried to get them to, so he could pay them for protection, that story leaked out. So now people are looking at him like, He ain't built like that. He ain't cut like that. He did that for protection. Now, even though they can't put hands on him, he ain't got the respect that he had before he was a gangster. Because they looking at him like he did that for protection, or he was forced to do it. It wasn't by choice. This lifestyle got to be about choice, y'all. And it wasn't with him. So now he works everything out. The pack is coming in. It's going down. So when the pack comes in, he gets 2 packs that weekend, right? And they go to his mule, and his mule comes back, right? He done already had to get a name of the mule to folks now, Ben and Tony. They already got somebody watching the mules go back to the park. They lived in a different pod, right? And they were going to meet him on the ball field. That's how they normally would do. Meet him up on the ball field, exchange the pack. You feel me? Then he'd take the pack, take it back to the room, break it down. Then he would break them off and take it back up to the ball field and pay them off. But nah, not this time. Ben and Tony had somebody meet the mules up on the ball field. And when they met up on the ball field, they got the pack. When they get back to the unit, David said, "Where's everything at?" They said, "We got it." See what I'm talking about? Folks done hijacked it. They got the pack. This his dope. He done spent his money. This his plug. These are his mules. But now that he become part of the fam, this is fam stuff now. They're going to give him what they want him to have. So when they go in the room, Ben and Tony, they got security on the door. And by him being a new member, he can't just go in the room like that. Security's on the door. When he go up to the door, he said, "I want to holler at folks now." Security lean and look into the door, say, "You want to holler at him?" They're like, "Nah, we busy." They tell him, "Hold up, we'll holler at him in a minute. Just sit at the table." He's sitting out at the table at the pod. He's sitting there. 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour go by. He's still sitting at the table. Now he getting pissed. He's getting real pissed because he's seeing the writing on the wall. They done took my shit. They just done took my shit and ain't nothing I can do about it. He the folks though. It's protocols to this thing. What is he going to do? Who he going to tell? They in charge. So now he get up, he walking the pod, he pacing the floor. He trying to figure out what he going to do. About that time, here come Ben and Tony. They coming out of the cell. They said, "Let me holler at you, folk." So he come back down. He mad, but he got to clean his face up. Better not show him, man, because they might smack him. He go up in the room. It's just them 3 in the room, right? Tony hand him the pack. "Here you go, folk. Get your money." He looked down at it. It's a half ounce. Wait a minute. He got 2 ounces of powder in. They give him a half ounce. What the rest of that? He got to pay dude them off. And in the penitentiary, off of 28, you get 7. So he owed the mules 14. This is all they just gave him is 14. How he going to get his money? So he trying to explain this to them. He trying to tell them, but he's talking to them. They already know what the fee is. They already know what's going on. They don't care, though. They don't care. So this is what they tell them. Look, take care of what you need to take care of. We're going to take care of them. We're going to take care of them. He said, "All right, then." He didn't want to agree to it, but he felt like he had no choice. He's got to do something. He's got to do something. So he leave the cell. He go back to his cell. He pissed. He pissed, but he trapped. He trapped by the code. He trapped by the code. He know he been tricked. All of this has been a game to get him. And he locked in for life. He locked in. So folks then bumped down on the mules, right? Ben and Tony bumped down on the mules and said, "Look, here you go." So the mules look at him like, "Hold on, where the rest of our shit at?" So folks then tell him, "Look, you got to remember the power of the G." When they stepped to them, they said, "Look, this is all you get. And from here on out, that's all you're going to get. And you're going to keep bringing that pack in. Do we have a problem?" Now, let me explain something to you how they fuck up shit. This is how gangsters fuck up shit. David had a good thing going. He's paying them off, keeping it 100, keeping it real. But now folks them done got in it. They greedy. They want it all. So when they step to the mules, they get them 7. That's 3.5 apiece. Come on, man. Nah, that ain't how it go. But because they were afraid, just like David was afraid, they took it and agreed to it. Plus, they had a habit. They got to get the monk off their back. They don't walk through the VG with a pack up in them. They nervous. They got to get that off of them. So they can only take the little payment, go on back to the room and shoot their lights out. But they pissed though. And one thing you don't do in the penitentiary, don't piss the people off that's bringing your pack in. And when you piss the mirrors off, you potentially messing up the whole operation. So why would anybody do that? That's an example of the short-sightedness that Benny and Tony have. Now, I want to make something clear to you. Benny and Tony run the compound, but they don't have enough sense to know you can't be greedy and you shouldn't dog the people out that are creating an opportunity for you to eat, even if you don't respect them. But they didn't care nothing about that. They didn't care nothing about that. So now David, he's got to figure this out. Because he's got major plugs on the town, and he is not going to be disrespected like that, even though he don't have the muscle to do anything about it at this point. But he's not finna accept it like this. He's not going. He's not going, y'all. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say this. At the end of the day, he's trapped. And Benny and Tony know it. But he's got to figure out something to do so he can get out from under this. I'm going to tell you something. When you got that bag, you remember I told you this before in another episode, and in this episode as well. When you got that bag, you got the power. David is going to get to that point to where he understands what's going on, and he's going to find him a way out. See, Benny and Tony got the ups right now. That ain't going to last long, y'all. That ain't going to last long at all. And I'm going to tell you how it plays out in the next episode. Check out the book. Click on the link. Go get it. You understand what I'm saying? Go get that book. I appreciate your support, and the movie's coming out. You're going to have to go into the membership section so you can see it. But when it comes, man, look, I need all of y'all support. I do. I need everybody out there to support me on this. This is a big deal. We're making history. Nobody coming out the penitentiary has made a movie, y'all. Listen to me now. As far as I know, I would be the first person that wrote, produced, and directed a movie, even though it's an anime, while incarcerated. Come on now. Talk to me. Okay? Take this ride with me, y'all. You've been there with me so far. Don't get off now. Don't get off now. I love y'all. It's been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.